Africa, the dark continent that has always intrigued man's imagination, making him explorer, merchant, colonist, missionary. Since the beginning of recorded time, man has sought to lift the veil of mystery, and today, with his airplanes, cities, railroads, he knows the continent, knows the headwaters of the Nile, the gold in the Transvaal, even the uranium in the Belgian Congo. The exploration days of Livingstone, Bratza, and the others have ended, but another phase is just opening, a vitally important phase. This is the unknown land of Africa, unknown in the one respect that interests the modern-day explorer, its people. How do they live? What makes them tick? Will they survive or ultimately be destroyed by their own jungles? 3 million peoples, 600,000 square miles of jungle, swamp, grasslands, mountains. The Agwe Congo mission had but one purpose, to record living history. The modern expedition has no use for cages or guns. It needs 3 things: cameras, recording equipment, and luck. These are the results of 14 months of observation. These are the pirogues, the hollowed-out log canoes of the jungle on the Agwe River. This and the mighty Congo are the life-giving highways for the 5 million inhabitants of our unknown land, their only contact with the outside world. And from Njola west, the pirogue is the only possible medium of transportation into the interior. The paddlers are a people to themselves because it is an art that is handed down from generation to generation along with their own fetishes and traditions. The headman's shirt or scarf flutters with the flag so that there's no chance of a mix-up in the spirit world. For example, the bells that hang on the bow tinkle to keep away the evil spirits. But it is the river itself that's important. All life revolves around it. The nomads who live along its banks, the jungle dwellers, even the tribesmen miles to the west who raise their cattle on the plateau. This is the artery that leads to the heart of the continent. And from here, the expedition branched off to record even the most detached and primitive peoples. But always, the rivers were their highways.
This is a pygmy village deep in the heart of the equatorial jungle, inhabited by a nomadic tribe called Babingas. In this environment, you're on your own from the beginning. And what baby isn't curious? The pygmy is surprisingly clean and healthy. He has to be to survive. One child in the village is selected and trained to become the official drummer. While a Tata does his homework, Mom and the kid brother listen in. It seems okay, but when you've got an itch, you've got an itch. Daylight hours are precious in the heavy jungle. So while Nadoki has breakfast, Mother gets on with her housework, or homemade carry-all for wild nuts or firewood. Labor is evenly divided according to your skill. Using a primitive pestle and mortar, this woman is one of the 3 corn grinders, grinding corn which has been bartered from black farmers. Pygmy Beauty Parlor, specializing in the skin-close bob. Pygmy Clam Bake, only these aren't clams. They're kalama, the sweetest caterpillar in the jungle. You can eat them raw, but they're better roasted. The recipe's simple. Place your caterpillars in a basket. Add glowing coals. Shake gently. Shake until each little woolly cocoon is crisp, like a cheese stick. Now you're ready to start munching. It's beginning with a dessert, but what kid wouldn't rather do this anyway? They don't get kalama very often, once or twice a year, so it's a great treat. Sweet, crisp, and oh, so crunchy. The number of hunting nets determines the wealth of the tribe, and this varies with each hunt because at least one will be damaged beyond repair by the quarry. Most of the nets are at least 60 feet long and from 3 to 4 feet wide. Each strand is about half the size of your little finger, but nets only trap the animal. Spears, poison-tipped arrows, and occasionally an old musket is used for the actual kill. They start early. Iron-tipped arrows are precious and cannot be wasted. Six years old, and watch him. Who needs a Tommy gun with him around? 45 shots a minute, 40 of them on the button. After practice, the class goes out on a field trip. Object, birds and monkey for the pot. That's the hunting horn. The trackers have spotted something. There is no need for orders. The number of blasts on the horn gives the location, and everyone knows his part. Every dawn, hunters fan out from the village and stay out until dark. If they spot a quarry, they immediately signal with their high-pitched horn. This is #1 priority, meat for the communal larder, and there's work for everybody. Unlike other natives, the pygmy hunts as a tribe because of his small size. That weird sound you hear is the traditional Babinga hunting chant. The men sing one song, Joboko. The women and children another, Yeli. Very much like one of our roundelays. They sing with great enthusiasm because the better the song, the better the catch. The hunters spotted an antelope. Boy lookouts have been keeping it under constant observation. Now, the work. In this type of hunting, there is no great need of urgency. It may take as long as 2 hours to surround the general area. But working from all sides, the pygmies keep their prey from breaking out. The head of the family sets the first net, and the others follow his lead. When the last net is swung into place, the head man enters the giant circle, shouting, waving branches to drive the animal into the nets. This is the signal. The chase begins. Well, how about that? The hunters didn't know about Junior. Don't look so sad. They're not going to do anything to you. You're too little. There's the big boy. That's the one they're after. They've got to keep him moving. They may lose him if he lies quiet in the shadows. Boy, oh boy, are you going to taste good in the stew pot. Ronda, or giant leopard, who will attack the pygmy without warning. He's caught the scent of fresh blood. During the past 2 months, he's killed 2 babingas. Always there was death in the shadows. Now they have killed their enemy. Every part of the antelope is used, although the meat itself is the most important, not only as the primary food for the pygmy, but also to be smoked and traded to other tribes for spear points, axes, salt, and tobacco. Hunts such as we have just seen take place 2 or 3 times a day, seldom with as much success. And once an area has been cleared of game, the pygmy moves on. They have 1 meal a day on good days, and this has been a very good day. The killing of the leopard calls for one thing, a celebration.
Unlike the other tribes and peoples in equatorial Africa, the pygmy has only a few dances, which are used to express joy and sorrow. The death of the leopard plainly shows that Zembe, the most powerful of the gods, feels kindly toward his people, the Babingas. These are the first and very possibly the last sound films ever made of the Babinga dance of Zembe. Anthropologists believe the pygmy is a dying race, and every year they retreat deeper and deeper into their forests. having less and less contact with the outside world. The Babingas have no other method of keeping alive their history, only their songs, their music, their dances. They're a strange, simple, maybe, after all, a very lucky people. There's an old saying that if you sit long enough in a sidewalk cafe in Paris, you'll see everyone you've ever known. Well, the African version is journey from the coast to the headwaters of the Agwe, and all Africa will come to you. Peoples of all races and colors, steaming jungles, deserts, mountain ranges.
The coming of the pirogues is always a big event to the villages that border the river. In addition to the news, gossip, and new jokes, the pirogue flotilla is a floating general store. Food is an ever-present problem on the river, so they come ashore to trade spear tips, cloth, ironware, and tobacco for rubber and food. And these Batek villagers haven't had visitors for 3 months. This was once one of the mightiest tribes in Africa, during the reign of their great king, Makoko. The men were great warriors, and their women famous for their beauty. But today, they're peaceful farmers. But despite this come-down, the girls, God bless them, can still hold their own. It may not be as exciting as the old days, but at least they know hubby is down on the farm. In case you're not getting all of this, Henry wants to marry up with Gertrude. But you never ask the blushing lady. You've got to pop the question to older sister. The chum is along for moral support. Big sister may play it hard to get, but Gertrude isn't worried. She's had Henry staked out for a long time, and her trousseau shouldn't take, well, a minute or two.
The Bateks welcome the pirogue crews with a ceremonial dance, the sand dance, which is one of the strangest celebrations recorded by the Agwe Congo mission. It's a throwback to the great days when Makoko ruled the land, and the Batek warriors were his bodyguard. Theoretically, they dance only when the war fever is upon them. And to kill the bloodlust, they must exhaust themselves. Once he joins the circle, the dancer cannot leave it until he drops from exhaustion. Standing in the same spot, he digs himself in deeper and deeper. Sprinkled among them are professional dancers, direct descendants of warriors who are maintained by the tribe to tell of past glories, epic battles, and death. At dusk, they'll be buried up to their waists.
The white man left the river at the Batek village, here where the Agwe bends to the south, and traveled cross-country through the plateau land to the country of the Bakalis, while the pirogues continued to join them upriver at the village of Bamamtu. This rich grazing land should be filled with cattle, but it is the land of the dreaded tsetse fly, fatal to both man and his cattle, the carrier of sleeping sickness. For some reason, neither the zebra nor the topi, which resemble the large American deer, are affected by the tsetse fly. Their natural enemy is the lion. 20,000 zebras are killed a year by the bloodthirsty, majestic, fearful, invincible king of beasts. Hey, Junior, stay with it. Zebras don't get sleeping sickness. Somebody's got their eye on you. Strictly off the record, it's got blood in it. Uh-oh. Get going. We're all pretty familiar with the giraffe, but he's a different animal in his natural habitat. He can't fight the lion, but he can run. They have clocked him up to 40 miles per hour, and in spite of his clumsy appearance, he moves like a ballet dancer. His huge neck acts as a shock absorber, while his head remains perfectly level, and all 4 feet are never off the ground at the same time. Hey, just a second, Mama.
The mission swung back to the river from the plateau country. The pirogue crews had been without meat for 3 weeks, making them restless. Here, there were elephant, the favorite of all fresh meat. But Pierre Magnon, the pirogue leader, had to obtain permission to hunt from the Bakali elders. Although they have an estimated 1,000 elephant within their territory, the Bakalis seldom hunt, primarily because their weapons are inadequate and wounded bulls have wiped out entire villages. The African elephant is very different from his Indian and Malayan cousin. He's larger, wilder, and cannot be domesticated. Because of sheer numbers, tracking the elephant is easy, but getting within gun range is another story. His eyes are weak and nearsighted, but his ears are amazingly acute. As a result, he has to be stalked downwind and quietly.
That's the herd leader. Enough meat for a week. If they miss him, he'll do either one of 2 things: scatter the herd or attack. They're still working downwind, but he's suspicious now. With their old muskets, they've got to try for a headshot, and the brain area is very, very small. The elephant's intelligent, but he doesn't think quickly. He may suddenly charge. He's hit. Look out! He's turned. He's charging. They've stopped him for the moment. The rest of the herd scatters. He's seriously wounded, or he wouldn't break from the herd. Tracking a wounded elephant takes hours, even days. You never know when he might turn. Somehow, this bull managed to run 16 miles with 8 blunderbuss shells in him and a partially severed spine. The trunk is the greatest delicacy because it is comparatively tender. This goes to the Congolaise as part of the hunting bargain. But there's plenty to go around. Everything is eaten except the tusks, the tail, and the ears. The nutritious hide is treasured. It's something like jerked beef and will keep almost indefinitely after being scraped and smoked for 3 days. The ears are used to make drumheads and are always in great demand, although the Congolaise also got these.
Bon, commencez à vous couper là-bas. Là, nous commençons à couper le menton. Nous essayons de nous couper ici. Attention, vous ne pouvez pas casser les viandes. Attention, faites transporter jusqu'au village. Moitié coupé, moitié commencez à porter au village. Tumba, chef. Tumba, 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 tumba,
Elephant kills are rare among the Congolaise. The pirogue crew were treated like heroes. Somehow, they managed to lose most of their elephant meat in the public celebration.
The whirling dervish is Edzingwe, the evil spirit of dead elephants. The dancers must hunt him down and then gradually close in on him, trying to pen in the spirit with portable fences, while the singers try to frighten the Edzingwe with a saga of elephant hunts of the past. The man who plays Edzingwe must keep whirling and spinning. Every time he falls, it means the spirit has been wounded and is growing weaker. The man who is chosen has not only got to be spry, but also have a strong stomach. He's up, he's down. He's up again, he's down. 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're out. After the dance, tobacco and contentment. After violence, peace. The only gods Jean-Marie Gazagne knows are river spirits, and they're very partial to music. Tomorrow's another day on the river, and a little insurance never hurt anyone. Right, John? Well, maybe not. And when tomorrow comes, the pirogues are again on the move, up the mighty Agwe, where it runs parallel to the Congo, still deeper into the jungle. This is the middle land, flat, open country, beyond the steaming forests, not yet beginning to roll as it will later toward the mountains. For the next 50 miles, there are few villages. No one seems to know why. And yet the pirogue crews like this stretch of the river. On every trip, they see something new, something they can boast about when they get back to the coast. They're always on the alert now, ready for anything. The headman acts as spotter.
Along this one stretch of the Agwe, there are over 600,000 flamingos. And it's a very lucky thing for the flamingo that Milady's changed her hat style. Pink clouds in motion, one of the most breathtaking spectacles provided by nature. The pirogue crew will not land where there is rhino track. He is one of the few animals who will charge without warning. Hey, Buster, don't go away, man. All right, go on then. But take Junior and the missus along with you. That horn on the rhino's nose is filled with compressed air, but he's still nature's answer to the Sherman tank. These lovely ladies are from the other side of the family. Life isn't very interesting to the hippopotamus, but why should it be? He spends 75% of his time in a mud hole and the rest in the river. Not very smart. He's very friendly. And further down the river, he's often run over while trying to make friends with a paddle wheel steamer. And the hippo girls really love to dish the dirt. These two are giving some young widow from Can-Can the business. And they have the mouths to do it.
And speaking of mouths, these films might be the last ever taken of the Ubangi. The French government has outlawed the practice of lip splitting, and this is the last disfigured generation. When they die off, there will be no more. Notice the lips, the way they hang when the wooden discs have been removed. They were split in early childhood and a tiny disc inserted. Each year, the disc was replaced with a larger one, so you can get a pretty good idea of the age of an Ubangi girl by the size of her saucers. This is Fatana, the matriarch of the village. She's close to 80, and her word is law. Putting in and taking out the discs is a painless operation. Except for eating and sleeping, the discs remain in at all times. There was a very good reason for this strange disfigurement. 100 years ago, the Ubangi women were famous for their beauty, and other tribes were always carrying them off. To save his tribe from extinction, King Matana evolved the plan of making them so repulsive that no one would want them. Well, needless to say, it took several years for the Ubangi men to get used to their wives and sweethearts. Now, they think all other women are a mess. Within 20 or 30 years at the most, the disc-lipped women of the Ubangi will be a thing of history. That is why records such as these are important. How people live, what makes them tick. At Najoli, the pirogues must be fully provisioned. From this point on up into the interior, the character of both the river and the country itself changes completely. Food becomes even a greater problem. Up near its headwaters, the Agwe is fed by thousands of mountain streams that drain the great plateau land of Central Africa. The Agwe, the Sangha, the Congo. For an 80-mile stretch, there is a broken series of white water rapids, each of which is believed to house its own collection of evil spirits or fetishes, lying in constant wait for the riverman who is either careless or a coward. Hundreds of natives are drowned every year in these rapids, and they are known as the Cannibal Rocks. Once the rapids have been passed, the river turns south, cutting deep into the Belgian Congo. Tribal warfare has never been completely eliminated, and for the Adumas who man the pirogues, there is always the constant danger of ambush from the riverbank villages, from their traditional enemies, the Ashina and the Asangos. Yet they had to come ashore. Here the mission divided, and one part accompanied crews from the pirogues who worked deep into the grassy plains of the interior to trade with the long-headed peoples of Ikibando. The land of King Ikibando is remote, and special permission has to be obtained from the old king, who has the power of life and death over his 50,000 subjects.
These are impala, the strange, unbelievable cousin of the antelope, who travel these grassy plains in herds of 200 to 300. Talk about animal vitality. He'll jump 40 feet horizontally and 10 feet vertically day after day, year after year. Lions kill surprisingly few impala because they keep the lion continually off balance, preventing his fatal spring. Between the river and Ikibando's village stretches lion country. Usually, they're content to remain invisible, to ignore man. Sometimes they're not. You can never tell. These are hunting, which can be a bad sign. The smell of a fresh kill will drive a lion crazy, make him attack when he would ordinarily run. There are lionesses, too, which is also bad, because there are probably cubs. But he still won't attack man unless something swings the delicate balance. Watch carefully. That's a 200-pound warthog you just saw scooped out like a Blue Point oyster. They're still very much aware of man. So much fresh blood is making them more and more curious. If there happens to be a man-killer among them, then the balance is swung. It looks as though they were closing in. Right now's the time to decide. Drift off quietly or stand fast. It's too late to get out. Lions can be stopped if you show no fear and keep moving towards them. That's the one they've got to watch. He's coming. He's running just what he shouldn't do. He's hit. No, they've missed. This boy Toussaint ran alone for miles through open lion country for help. Kega was dying.
Kega's death must be avenged. When a man has been killed by the lion, the penalty must be paid. That's the law, faithfully obeyed from generation to generation. These border tribes live in a state of armed neutrality with their enemy, but when the lion kills, then the ancient ceremony is evoked, and the lion must pay the penalty. During the vengeance dance, Kega's spirit is called again and again, along with the spirits of the great warriors of the past who were summoned to give comfort and strength on the hunt. However, the Longheads do all their lion hunting entirely in their imaginations. The actual kill is handled by professional hunters. These are the Maasai El Moran, young warriors who are supported by the village for the purpose of protection against the lion. They are clothed, fed, housed, and even provided with wives. The blasts on the hunting horns have alerted the El Moran, and scouts have reported the area of Kega's murder. It's one of those curious things, but the lion seems to recognize the El Moran. From this enemy, who wears a headdress of a lion's mane and ostrich feathers, the lion may retreat, but he will always make one charge. The hunters chant to their own ancestors. It's half religious, half college yell. One important part of the ritual is only the naked spear may be used, never a gun or arrow. The El Moran are not hunters. They're executioners who carry out the sentence decreed by the chief. 2 lions must die for Kega's death. They split into 2 groups, 1 for each lion.
Moving up, moving up, they hunt silently. The lion knows they're there, but they don't want to startle him. They've got to get closer. It's still too far to try a throw. But he's about ready to break. There he goes. He's after one of them. Watch the flash of the throwing spears. There's the other one. Look out. The penalty has been paid. The El Moran have the greatest respect for their ancient enemy. Today, they won. Tomorrow, perhaps, he will. But they must not leave him where he fell. His spirit would haunt them for the next 5 years. It is also a Maasai El Moran sign of honor and their greatest tribute. Their trading completed and reprovisioned, the pirogues are again ready to move deeper into the Congo, beyond the grasslands and plateaus. But first, they must be fire-hardened. The exterior is scorched by a hot flame that welds the tough, heavy ironwood, making it relatively waterproof. It's a long, difficult process.
It's a strange thing about this vast land. Here, running 1,200 miles north and south, is the last untouched reservoir in the world. Resources that can't be estimated. Gold, uranium, oil, forests, grazing lands, coal, water power. And yet, immigration is virtually at a standstill, and the population decreases each year. Before mankind can take advantage of this last great opportunity, science must lead the way. Disease must be controlled, communications developed, because under present conditions, the white man cannot live in this land. Oh, of course, there are white men, planters, missionaries, merchants, government officials, army officers, but the majority of them are merely existing until the great day comes when they can return home. Theirs is a never-ending battle against sleeping sickness, fever, TB, and the lesser evils of insect infection. It's a deceptive land, unbelievable beauty and peace on the surface, with ever-present violence just below. Someone once described the Congo as the escape hatch from madness. Someday this madness will be cured and the jungle cleared and defeated. It has to be if mankind is to survive.
Now it's the spring of the year, the time when a young man's fancy turns. And there's something about life on the river that keeps the Okandis perpetually young, at least in heart. Like sailors everywhere, these pirogue men are inclined to have a wife in every port. And during the spring, the wayward husband loves to come home. Watch them run. Spring is celebrated throughout Africa by a series of fertility dances. The dances themselves differ according to geography, but the underlying purpose is the same. They ask their gods for good crops, vigorous cattle, and children to make their tribe great and powerful.
These are the Mabits, and the masked dancers represent the twin sons of their first great chief, Musa Matole. The chief died 100 years ago, but each of his sons had 50 children. Traditionally, the twins are honored as the symbols of fertility. The masks are made of raffia and wood. Theoretically, no one knows the identity of the masked dancers. Once they put on their masks, they become fetishes or spirits, throwing off their original identity. a female fetish, sort of a spirit Dorothy Dix, here to pass the word along on your family problems. The ladies in white are already expectant mothers and act as the cheering section. Only a few men join this particular fertility dance. Their job is to keep repeating the magic chants. The tribe's sorcerer has to be an acrobat. That's the way he calls back the spirits when their attention wavers. Springtime and fertility. Together, they mean life and death. For the Akandas, this is the final lap. The beloved signposts are beginning to appear. It's here that the mighty river was born. The mountains, plateaus, grasslands, deserts are all behind them. This is their forest, their spiritual home. Home, home, home. Faster, faster, faster. There's reason for the speed. This is a race against time because the Akandas have their own fertility celebration, but theirs is unique. They have a strange dancing partner, strange and terrifying, for this is the land of the gorilla, the ancient and feared enemy of the Akandas. Faster, faster, faster. Up there in those green hills overlooking the village live the gorillas. The gorilla dance takes place at the time of year when the gorilla is wildest and most bloodthirsty. For 2 nights and days, the Akandas must dance, neither eating nor sleeping. Only the hunters dance, working themselves into a frenzy that will make them immune to fear when the terrible moment finally comes. This is a fertility dance, just like all the others, but here the climax comes in the gorilla kill, which is part of the dance. The largest bull in the surrounding jungle must be tracked and finally killed as a sacrifice to the gods of fertility. And the tribe has recently lost children to the gorilla. They've followed this custom for over 200 years. The young, the old, and the weak precede the hunters.
The herd has been located. The first step at this stage of the dance is setting the nets. This in itself is extremely dangerous, and spearmen who are not yet hunters accompany them. The nets are made of heavy twine, each strand 2 inches in circumference. 3 sets of nets are used, each almost 1/8 of a mile long, 5 feet high. Then they'll keep moving them, closing in on the herd, until the gorillas finally try to break loose and come through the nets. There's the constant danger that 2 or 3 bulls will suddenly hit simultaneously, without warning, before the nets are set. It takes 6 or 7 hours to set the nets. And in the meantime, the hunters are making their final peace with their ancestors, and the net is blessed. Hunters may die, but if the giant bull is sacrificed, then the village is safe from the gorilla for another year. The factor that makes their gorilla hunt so dangerous is their lack of weapons. They have a few muskets loaded with short spears instead of bullets, a few blunderbusses, mostly spears. To do any damage, it means they have to get right next to the crazed gorilla, close enough to hit him in a vital spot. Signal drums keep up a constant report. The herd is penned in now. The nets can move them no further, and the hunters are ready. They don't know the size of the herd. It's impossible to count gorillas in the heavy jungle. Any moment, they'll be trying to break out. After generations of bloody warfare, the hunters know what to expect. Somewhere in there, the giant bull, with 2 or 3 others, is on the ground, creeping silently towards the nets, ready to spring. He's fooled them. They can't believe it. The giant bull has his herd up in the trees, and gorillas are not tree climbers. Now they can come down over the nets on top of them. There he goes. Look at the size of him. They've never seen anything like this. 60 gorillas up in the trees. Somehow they have to get the king down. There's one down, but where did he go? He's making for the nets. He's breaking through. If he breaks loose, the entire herd will get away. They got him. He's big, but he's not the one they're after. The king's still up there. When a gorilla's screams become high-pitched, it means he's insane with rage. The herd is working closer and closer to the nets. If the giant bull comes over, the others will follow, and you can't run from a gorilla and live. To get him within the next 2 or 3 minutes, or he'll be over the nets. Their only chance is to wait until he's close enough. They're only going to have one shot. If they miss, it's just too bad. Steady now. Look at the size of him. This is undoubtedly a world record gorilla, weighing 775 pounds. The Ocondees kill a gorilla each year as the climax to their fertility dance. But this particular one was a rogue or outlaw and was believed to be responsible for the death of at least 7 adults and an unknown number of children. Just to get an idea, compare his hand with that of an average man. The Ocondees hate the gorilla because he represents death that is always in the shadows. And even young bulls will steal children from the villages. They hate him, but they're awed by the sheer physical power, even in death.
This is it. Add the World Series, the Rose Bowl game, and New Year's Eve, and you've got the celebration that winds up the gorilla dance. And this year, they've killed the greatest enemy they've ever had. Why, it wouldn't surprise the chief if one of his Aconda mothers produced sextuplets this coming year. But next year, just before the rains come, the herds will grow restless and start raiding again, and children will vanish into the night. But that's a long way off. The pirogues now head west, downriver. 1,000 miles away from home lies civilization. But this is a land that cannot be measured in miles or kilometers, only by time. This vast area has been overlooked by progress because modern man is not equipped, physically or emotionally, to undergo the constant danger of everyday life. And this is a land of violence. It is also a land of majestic beauty and vibrant color and great treasure. But people must change first, and then the land. That was the purpose of the Agwe Congo mission. Lift the cloak and make a record of the strange, colorful peoples, how they live, what makes them tick. Time is running out for them. The face of equatorial Africa is changing. Tomorrow, they may be gone.